Welcome to the Motoring Podcast, your weekly discussion of motoring news. This is episode 653 on Tuesday, the 14th of October, 2025. Hello, I'm Alan.
Hello, I'm Andrew. And this week you'll hear about a consultation asking if you would like some money back. In new car news, you'll find out what affordable means to one company. And in points of interest, you might want to prep for the Alan drinking game trademark. Be warned. But first, we have a smidgen of follow-up. And no, it's not JLR. They're still trying to get everything back up and running. This is to do with the financial redress scheme connection with the mis-selling of finance to people between 2007 and 2024. The Financial Conduct Authority has put a consultation out asking what should be covered, how should this happen, what seems fair, that sort of stuff. And they're asking questions concerned specifically with, and I'm quoting from a Broker News article that is linked in the show notes. Number one is discretionary commission models, which allowed brokers to raise interest rates to increase their own commission. Number two is high commission structures exceeding 35% of total credit costs and 10% of the loan value. And the final bit is exclusive lender-broker tie-ins that restricted customer choice. This was all off the back of a Supreme Court case that we covered about 2 months ago, 3 months, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, where they said some of what you're claiming is not fair. We're not going to say that that is the finance industry is guilty on that front, but we will about these bits, and that's the bits that are being covered here. Mm-hmm. Obviously, there has been some pushback, like the BVRLA has come back and gone, hang on, some of this isn't covered. Why are you including it in this? So that'll be interesting. The consultation is going to shut on the 18th of November, and then the scheme to pay people back is expected to begin, it's quoted here from the FCA, early 2026.
Yeah.
But begin receiving compensation later in 2026. Already, finance stroke car companies have been calling to speak to the Chancellor of the Exchequer. I presume that's in some way to dodge their responsibility of breaking the law.
I know I've got 4 that are sitting, supposedly 3 with Santander and 1 with RCI Financial. I'm just putting the whole, well, I'm going to make the claim. If I get something back, I get something back. So be it.
Yeah.
I went all lazy and went with one of the online things, which is what you shouldn't do. You can do it yourself, of course.
Yeah, go on Money Saving Expert, because I'm sure he's got something that tells you how to do it.
He did, yes. That was after I'd already gone off and done the lazy way of doing it. Meanwhile, at Stellantis, which is something we're going to say a couple of times, I think, today.
Yes.
Stellantis European operations for Stellantis. Bit of musical chairs at the top. The wonderfully named Jean-Philippe Imperator has been sideways from his previous role as, say, head of European operations to be the CEO of Maserati. This will allow him to focus full-time on driving performance improvements, I'm sure, until he has to spend family time somewhere or something. In the meantime, Emanuele Capellano, the head of Stellantis' commercial vehicle business, has been named as his successor. Imperator as well, by the way, has now been tasked with taking more of a role with the Stellantis and You, the firm's retail network. Lucky you.
Yes, it just feels like he's been punished for something more than anything else there.
It does a little bit. The thing is, it's all a bit mucky at the top of that area of Stellantis, and particularly where it comes to the non-standard parts of Stellantis Europe, by which I mean the ones that don't have a small hatchback. So Maserati and Alfa Romeo.
Yeah. But what doesn't help as well, as soon as Tavares left, the temporary person then cleared house and put new people in. And at the time, I think I asked this, are these people just been put in place so that they can get a nice golden parachute as they get booted out, because the new boss will come in and go, no, these are the people I want, actually. It just seemed a really odd thing to have done, and really expensive as well.
Yes. But speaking of Maserati and Alfa Romeo, by the way, they are trying to work together to increase product competitiveness, improve marketing of the cars, and to re-engage with the dealer network, whom they've obviously fallen out with quite badly. They're also going to be exploring synergies between the two organizations as they are considering developing a new range of mild and plug-in hybrid models. So we'll see. I mean, it's all as clear as mud, to be perfectly honest. Meanwhile, in North America, though, Stellantis are going to invest around $10 billion in US operations. Apart from Jeep and Ram, basically any other Stellantis brand you can think of, so that's Dodge and Chrysler really, might as well be lying on their backs, wiggling their legs in the air, because they're just not anything. They've got no models, they've been squeezed out of showrooms. It's just a real mess. So Chrysler and Dodge, they're basically just name badges at the moment. To try to bring back Dodge, then one of the things is some of that $10 billion is going to go towards a new V8 muscle car to replace the Charger, the Challenger, and all the other ones that they finished off recently. I know Andrew's pulling sort of squinty faces, which is understandable because that's what they had. Obviously, that wasn't the way the world was going. And then in comes a new political bunch. And then all of a sudden, any kind of EV or anything like that is dirty. And so you can go back. Goodness knows what Jeep's doing with some of its more luxurious models and the prices of Wranglers and things like that. They're going to have to do something about that, I suppose.
Yeah.
And then Ram just makes big pickups.
But also with the US economy having the troubles it is having, so is everywhere else, but it is really biting. And the number of auto loans that are over 60 days behind and in arrears increasing at an alarming rate.
Yeah.
I think it doesn't really matter what Stellantis try and do. There's going to be massive problems on top of all the other political decisions that have been made, which make making a car itself so difficult now.
Yeah, there was a bit of a sort of tongue-in-cheek joke when I was over there that it didn't matter what your credit score was. You could probably get yourself a Challenger or a Charger. Stellantis is having a particularly tough time of it. So if you hear Americans online, American motoring pundits, the way they're talking, it's as if the entirety of Stellantis is on its knees and it's about to die. They're really talking about Stellantis North America. They're not talking about Peugeot, Citroën, Fiat.
No.
All those other parts. Americans on the topic of Stellantis, very much that North American focus on Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, etc.
Yeah.
Not really the rest of it.
Mm-hmm. Right, well, I'm going to move on to another company that's struggling, and this is news from Aston Martin, as they have issued a profit warning, thanks to, they say, weak demand and delays in the Valhalla, which has hampered their turnaround hopes. They are going to remain loss-making through 2025, when it was hoped they would be out of it towards the end of the year. They made another loss, but it wasn't as bad as some people were expecting, so that's good news.
By Aston Martin standards, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I suppose. But I did see another report, and I can't find it again. This was over the weekend. I think it was from the Financial Times that outlined how much a loss each car being sold by Aston Martin was. And it is very worrying, I have to say. Really astonishingly worrying that you think, how long can the company last? Because it had 3 or 4 financial bailouts since Stroll's been in there that we know of. That I'm sure.
Something like that, yeah.
Unfortunately, you lose count.
Yeah.
Also, what's impacted them as well recently is that Aston Martin do share some suppliers that JLR have, and there's been a knock-on effect from that because those suppliers, obviously, as we've covered extensively for the last few weeks, have been struggling financially as well.
Yeah.
Alan, why don't you take us to Scotland for some good, positive news, please?
A few months ago, we talked about an electric 4x4 vehicle manufacturer called MUNRO EV, based in Glasgow, and they have a vehicle called the M-Series off-roader. They're not anticipating it being something that gets sold from a dealer near you. It is far more specialized than that. I think you remember before we talked about mining applications, industrial applications, and potentially defense applications as well. Well, good news is that they've secured another £2 million in additional funding from one of their existing investors called Elbow Beach, and also from other parties, in their inverted commas, not mine. This is going to help expand the production line capacity in their new factory, recruit more engineers and assembly staff, and MUNRO is saying that as production scales up, it expects funding to support the creation of 300 new jobs. They currently have orders for 246 vehicles. That's worth around £17 million to them.
Mm-hmm.
They intend on delivering those before the end of 2026, but over the next 6 years, they hope to reach 5,000 vehicles a year production capacity. The vehicle itself, just as a quick recap, has up to 170 miles of range. That's for on and off-road. Intended really for its off-road use, hence that it's going to be slow and all these kind of things, slower than a road car, hence the potentially reduced range. Up to 276 horsepower, 1 ton load capacity and 3.5 ton towing capacity. But that 170 miles will give it the ability to operate for up to 16 hours per charge off-road. They're aimed on providing what they describe as a simple but effective tool for demanding industries. So this isn't some lifestyle device or quasi-lifestyle device.
This isn't born out of someone having a hissy fit in the pub, is what you're saying, is it?
You may very well say I couldn't possibly comment on INEOS. Loads of good stuff like that. They're also aiming to secure interest from the Ministry of Defence because they've got currently land mobility strategy is looking to replace Land Rovers and Pinzgauers. So they're trying to get themselves on the radar there, but good luck to them with that because that's going to be really tricky.
Mm. They're not promising to be too much to too many.
Yes, exactly.
Which I think is the right way to approach it.
Yeah, that's the right way to approach most things, really. China, Andrew.
Yes. Back to our old friend. Once again, rare earths. They have come to the surface.
Do they have them in their hand?
Well, they got something in their hand. I think it's the short and curlies. Because China has decided that they are going to put stricter controls on a number of rare earths being exported out of the country. Basically, you're going to need a license. The government is going to have to approve you're allowed to sell them to the companies you are selling them to, and for the purposes the companies want to use them. This is, again, going to impact the likes of EVs. Mm-hmm. But not only that, there was an excellent piece in, who's the Sky? The chap who wrote the book about, he's a Sky reporter, and he did the book about Material World, I think it is.
Oh, I cannot remember his name. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I can't either. I'm sorry, but he has a newsletter, and he actually produced a version of it today. Brilliant timing for the show, actually. It's good of him to have looked at our Trello and found it was there. He talked about how some of the...
Is it Ed Conway?
That's it, Ed Conway. That's it, thank you. He talked about how some of the material is actually used in things like speakers in cars. Mm-hmm. And how... Yeah. Whilst it is only a small amount of that material, it's still going to put the price up. Or if because of the geopolitical trade tensions, I'm going to be using lots of these words that the media use, mainstream media are using over all this at the moment. It's far too polite from what we said earlier. If they get more, or if America and their leader plays more and is stupid enough to continue down the line he has gone down, the prices are going to go up for everyone if you can get them out the country at all.
And that's the kind of playing, which means that if anybody would like US-grown soybeans, there are plenty of them going spare because China's not buying a single one.
Mm. Yes.
Lots of stuff like that going on. So this is ahead of a meeting between President Xi Jinping and obviously US President Donald Trump. It's all a little bit... It is diplomatically fraught.
Yeah, but Europe isn't out of the line of this either because of the tariffs they are put in place on Chinese-made EVs. Therefore, there is some leverage for the Chinese when it comes to negotiating that, as they are doing at the moment to try and come up with a minimum price. Keep your eyes on that because that is just one of the very easy ways for China to throttle the global manufacturing network.
and it's worth remembering that's not just a car-related story, despite my jokes about soybeans. That does cover an awful lot of stuff.
Yep. Well, do you want to take us to, back to Stellantis and one or two problems?
Well, it's better that I take us back to Stellantis because I'm less likely to become a frothing madman than you are.
And he says that with love, by the way, everyone.
Something like that. Jeep-owners are reporting that an over-the-air software update is disabling their vehicles. We love an over-the-air update. They're great. It appears to be causing some models to go into a limp mode or otherwise, as the Autopian puts it, fail to operate. The update was released on Friday. Manufacturers love these, by the way. They really like these because this is super cheap.
Yeah, because they don't have to develop the software properly.
But that's not really why.
Yes, it is. They can rush stuff out and then go, we'll fix it in post, basically. And it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, okay. Yes, but it also means that you don't have to go to dealers, and it means that everybody's vehicles get the update, which is very difficult when otherwise it means people have to go to dealers and people don't want to do that. And, well, it's just a software update is working fine as it is. Whereas maybe, the manufacturer wishes to release some special new feature, which definitely won't involve doing any tracking whatsoever or braking things. Basically, cars driving along just bricked themselves. And every single light in the whole thing came on, the vehicle came to a halt. Brilliant, really good, really safe thing to do. For goodness sakes, people, if you are offered the choice and you're driving your car and it offers an over-the-air update, for goodness sakes, don't do it then. Wait until it is at home, parked on your driveway. You're not going to be taking it anywhere for a while.
And on level ground.
Oh, yeah. And on level ground and not near anything that might roll into. It was BMW, wasn't it, that released one which released the handbrake. Good work, folks.
They now have it that you've got to be on level ground, otherwise it won't update.
Yes. Yeah, now the vehicle says, but they did.
But this just goes, and in this Autopian article as well, there's a bunch of other examples. We've covered them ourselves recently from over-the-air updates that suddenly brought in unintentional acceleration to not switching, changing the brakes, how the brakes worked, to back to not accelerating properly, and all sorts of things. This is from all car companies, by the way. This is not specific to Stellantis. It's not specific to any of the others here. They're all very, very bad at this. None of them spend the time and get their software right. And legislation allows them to do this.
Yeah.
Legislation should be in place that says, until this has been demonstrated to be safe, you are not allowed to release it.
Yeah, but this isn't, you can't appeal to people's heartstrings and declare it's an online safety act. And if you don't agree, then, the kiddies will be, I don't know, whatever.
I'm sure they could find a way. Because the car industry demonstrated they can't do it, so stop doing it. Just stop it. Because you're not safe, you're not doing it well, and you're alienating customers who now go, you know what, I don't want a new car, which is a brilliant move, lads.
So instead of getting all shouty at the microphone, do you want to give us a statistics lesson instead?
Yes.
Good.
The UK government has released from the Department of Transport reported road casualties of Great Britain annual report for 2024.
Hooray!
We covered 2023, yes. Now, why I'm bringing this up is I have to give a bit of background here. This new report has some changes in it because the government has moved away from having contributing factors logged. And that's where we find out, was it somebody driving recklessly? Was the road dangerous?
No, it was speed.
Was it speed or whatever?
It was probably speed, yeah.
We are moving away from contributing factors because in the safe systems, that has changed to road safety factors. This is actually important. Firstly, not all police forces are reporting in road safety factor categories. Most are still reporting in contributing factors if they report at all.
Okay.
And there's no expectation for everyone to have switched until at least 2026.
Okay. I was right, by the way, speed.
Yeah, but let me explain why that is particular, though. I'm going to get to that. With the new road safety factors, there are new definitions for categorizing incidents. And there are 6 groups. There is behavior or inexperience, distraction or impairment, non-motorized road users, that's pedestrian, cyclists or equestrian, roads, speed, and vehicles.
Okay.
I'm only going to pick speed because there are a number of codes they use, and if you hit this code, it goes under that heading. So for speed, exceeding the speed limit, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm on board with that one. Traveling too fast for conditions. Again, I'm on board with that.
Yep.
Following too close.
That's not a speed issue.
Dangerous or reckless driving stroke riding.
Not necessarily a speed issue.
Driving too slowly for conditions including inexperience with vehicle or driving on left.
Ooh, I don't think that's all speed. That's inexperience.
Vehicle used in course of crime.
Well, that's not necessarily speed, is it?
Out of those 6, only 2 are actually speed. They mention inexperience, and there is a section that talks about behavior or inexperience.
Yes. Why doesn't it go there?
Do remember all those, because I'm going to just quickly run through the figures.
There'll be a test later.
In 2024, there was a reduction overall in fatalities of 1% on 2023. Also, the killed or seriously injured casualties declined as well, down compared to 2023. There was also a decline in all casualties that happened. That was down 4%. But effectively, since 2010-ish, it's flatlined. And we're still on that.
It's a slightly downhill flat line, so...
it's ever so slightly.
Oh, sorry.
1%, that's rounding error almost.
We always declare that a rounding error.
Yeah. Most of the issues are people who are in cars. They are the people who have been injured or killed. Pedestrians are next, and then it becomes motorcyclists, and then it drops down after that.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to the types of road, statistically, the motorway is the safest road in the UK. Maybe the people who jumped up and down on that bandwagon about smart motorways were not telling the truth, Alan.
It's quite possible.
Yes. Which means overall, when we compare ourselves internationally, we are now the 4th lowest. We've dropped a place in that. 2023, we were the 3rd lowest. For every road fatality per million miles, we come in at 4th with 24. Norway, Sweden, and Malta are ahead of us. And we're actually joint 4th with Denmark. When it comes to factors contributing to fatalities, don't forget what I just told you. Guess what is number 1 now?
Is it going to be speed?
It is going to be speed, Alan. It is clearly speed, followed closely, well, not closely, but close-ish, by behavior or inexperience. Last year in 2023, when they were using the contributing factors, speed was 5th or 6th on the list.
Yeah, but that doesn't support what politicians want, Andrew.
I know. And what they have done now is they have gone back and retroactively changed the report for 2023 to reflect the road safety factors. In 2023, speed was the biggest reason again. But there has been an absolute ridiculous exceeding of scope by saying following too closely, dangerous or reckless driving, driving too slowly for conditions, including inexperience, and vehicle use in course of crime.
Yeah. Can I just quickly highlight the international one? Obviously, we would prefer that there were no road fatalities per million population, but our number of 24 per million of population is half that of Australia, France, and Slovakia. To give you an idea, there are 48, and it just goes crazy from there. No numbers for the USA in there, I notice.
No.
I suspect that they would be much worse than Serbia.
Yeah, they're generally really bad. If you see someone talking about this and they start going on about, speed is so dangerous, etc., you can go, you don't know the criteria have changed, or you're part of the committee that changed to bring in stuff that is nothing to do with speed at all.
Yeah, gotta be watched. There's damn lies and statistics everywhere.
I'm just bored of being gaslit by organisations and stuff because there's no need for that. Now what you've done, because I just did a little bit of research, is you've shown that you've tweaked stuff to have an answer you want. You've ruined any potential discussion or moral point you were trying to make because you've, in effect, lied to get an answer. And on that happy note, it's the end of the first part.
Yes. I was trying to work out just where I could tie it in to point out that it's Guilt Minute, quick break in the show where we ask for Tyler financial support to keep the lights on and the hosting running. If you feel that Motoring Podcast is worth a small consideration every month, then you can become a patron. Different levels of patron include different levels of commitment from us to you, including being able to watch the show recorded live. We also have a small range of merchandise in our spring store, from stickers to mugs and t-shirts. If you don't have any spare cash, we do completely understand. Then you can help us by following for free from a podcast player to receive every show as they're released, and by liking and rating the show, whichever way your podcast supplier lets you. If you've done all of that, and some of you do, so thank you very much, last thing you can do is to recommend us to your friends or colleagues. And thank you and welcome, by the way, to the new patrons over the past couple of weeks.
Ooh, yes. Thank you, everyone. Okay, Alan, it's new car news.
New car news. I had to fight to get this included, everyone. It's the new Tesla Model 3 and Model Y, the Standard Edition. So-called the Standard Edition because they take away anything that was previously standard. In the 80s and 90s, certainly in the UK, our car markets were far better prepared to deal with this kind of stuff. It doesn't seem to work for people in Silicon Valley. They're not going to put a little vinyl stripe along it and call it the Florida Edition. They've gone with standard. I think it's very much more popular or popular plus. There is a Model 3 and there are Model Y standards in the US. The Model 3 standard isn't making it to the UK, so we're only going to get the Model Y version. It's going to be ugly as well as empty. The first things you'll notice from the outside is it's missing. What they've done is, they've not gone quite as far as fitting sealed beam headlamps, which American brand could have been a possibility. But they have got rid of that new light strip that goes between the front lights. And along with it, they've taken the badge as well, because you don't really want to show off that you're driving the Polvo Tesla, do you? You also get 18-inch wheels instead of the optional 19-inch wheels. Those come with hubcaps that even Pound Stretcher would have declared look a bit on the cheap side. In sort of dark grey and black. And especially when you look at the blobbiness of a Model Y, they look like somebody's put wheels off a trolley case onto it. They look tiny with massive arch gap. This is not an aesthetic choice. Inside, you get even less than you did in the already lavish small Tesla interiors. You don't get any front seat ventilation. You don't get any rear seat heating. In the one positive that I can find in this is you no longer get the vegan leather or pleather. You do actually get fabric on the seats instead, which I think is much nicer looking, as well as I'm sure feeling. You've got a manual steering wheel adjustment. You get rid of a rear touchscreen, and instead of a touchscreen for controlling vents and ventilation, you get actual ventilation. You also get a more basic center console setup. What you do still get is a glass roof, which is good. You can still enjoy all of the benefits of the glass roof, apart from the fact that you can't. Inside, it's been covered up by a headliner and some sound deadening. I'm really curious to know what it looks like from the outside. If you can just look down and inside it just says loser across the inside or something, still visible through the glass. What you get instead on the inside is a whole headliner that just covers it. I heard that described by, or read that described by someone in North America as the world's largest switch blank, which certainly made me chuckle my way through it. Last but not least, there are some drivetrain changes, but they are very minimal. You get a single motor rear drive setup. It's rated at 286 horsepower, which is the same as a Model 3 long-range rear-wheel drive. Doesn't surprise me at all. You get 0 to 60 time of 5.8 seconds. Pardon me, that's in the Model 3, but it's going to be pretty similar. 5.8 seconds versus 4.9 seconds for a non-standard. Most of all, I've discussed an awful lot of what's been stripped out, what's been taken out, and what things you're not going to get anymore. And you don't really save that much money. You save essentially the amount that the US electric car grant was. It is practically very little, but the Model Y standard is going to be $41,630 in the US. It's going to be similar to that in the UK, in pounds anyway, which again, still going to put it too high for any of the grants that it might possibly have been put there for. Obviously, the real reason for these models isn't so much to make up for the loss of the US tax credits for electric cars. It's really to show their investors and Wall Street that they're thinking about new models and it's definitely not stagnated. If this is the best they can do, then they're even more stuffed than I thought they were anyway. Quite frankly, it's a pretty shameful showing.
Right, I'm going to move us on to Dacia, who actually have got a car that is affordable and show you how to do value engineering.
Yeah, affordable EVs you're not ashamed to have on your driveway.
Yeah, the Spring has gained some tweaks, and it now gets up to 99 brake horsepower as well, according to this Autocar article linked in the show notes. Essentially, they have tweaked and fettled with the driving experience, so that is much better than it was. They've also got the range to be up to 140 miles on the WLTP. Sorry, no, that's what it was before anyway. But it remains at 140 miles. However, it seems to outdo the Leap Motor T03, the one that Alan can't look at in the eye very long without getting frightened.
Oh, I saw one the other day. It is so weird. It's kind of funny that one's called a Spring and the other one's called a Leap, isn't it?
Yes.
We need a Peugeot Jumpy in there. We've got the full set.
Yeah. Pricing-wise, it's going to remain exactly as it was. So it's £15,000 for the base car, up to £17,000 for the range topper. Really, the only people who are going to be buying this are people who have a home charger, who don't drive very far on a regular basis. But next week, I once again will go through statistics for you on another news story that will mean that this isn't actually that outrageous an idea. And Dacia saying, as we were discussing last week on their concept, we all probably or have to start tweaking our mindset to what do we actually do rather than the fantasy that we will drive across Europe in one go, etc. I know there are some people who do that. Hello, Jim. I hope you're having a lovely time. But not everybody does, and they are outliers.
Absolutely. I like the idea of the Spring. I still do. I know that there's loads of arguments against it.
I like the idea, but it's an old car, and it's quite a niche. And Dacia know this. They know that they are not aiming for everyone here. And there are a number of nearly new out there, even more affordable than the buying brand new.
They're a fantastic deal. But nearly new is a fantastic deal on the Spring. Well, you don't get your choice of everything, obviously, but at that price.
Yeah.
The trouble is, though, that, and this was the discussion, I mean, I'm repeating Jim's words, actually, so he'd love one, really love one. But he knows that he'd still need to have a petrol car at home as well. And that's where the argument falls down for him. Because for dodging around Anglesey or whatever, he'd love to have either a Leap motor or a Spring.
But like I say, I'll go into people's use cases next week because there is a government EV usage report that's out that is really quite interesting.
That's something to look forward to for us all, isn't it? I should probably read it beforehand, to be honest, but yes.
Threats and promises, all in one go. Anyway, why don't you take us on to Aston Martin?
Well, Aston Martin, we were talking about them a little bit earlier on. Aston Martin have released a new model. I'm glad they told me, because I would have trouble telling the Aston Martin DB12S from just about any other Aston Martin that's been released over the past few years. The idea is that this is a tightened Grand Tourer. I'm not sure what was wrong with the looser Grand Tourer, but obviously something somewhere needed tightened. And it's a riposte to the Ferrari Amalfi. In this Evo story by Ethan Jupp, he says that tweaks under the more aggressive skin could make the DB12S the core Grand Tourer Aston needs. This follows on from the DBXS and the Vantage S. Power comes from a Mercedes-AMG 4-litre twin-turbo that's been gently massaged, and it now puts out about 692 brake horsepower. That's a nice round 700 metric horses, and that's up from 671, so I'm sure you'll feel every single one of those extra ponies. That's delivered from 6,000 RPM. Torque is about 590 pound-foot, arriving at 3,000 RPM, so a little bit higher. And that carries on right the way through to 6,000 RPM as well. So if you're really holding it as you're grand touring, then you maybe feel some differences in there. The transmission calibration has been revised for 50% improvements in shift speed, meaning that 0 to 62 improves by 0.1 seconds to 3.5 seconds, and it'll take you on to a top speed of 202 miles an hour. throttle pedal calibration's been revised as well. You see all these things that they keep revising, right? Every single time there is some new special edition from ASTON, they talk about all the same things, and you think, how bad was it to begin with? You're increasing this by 50%. You're increasing this by 30%. You're increasing this. Why?
Yeah.
Why didn't you just do it right?
Yes.
To be honest, if the stuff was pretty much right when it was released, which let's assume that is the case, who's going to be able to tell? Who?
Especially if it's a Grand Tourer.
We're really down at the Tread Shuffle Club here.
It's for the top trumps brigade. I've got the 2025.
I've got a 2025 with the Bilstein DTX dampers for improved roll and pitch control. I was like, ooh, are they better than CTX? Who cares? Does it make a difference? Does it make it less twitchy? It's less likely to follow in the ruts left by trucks on the Autobahn. Is it going to make a difference? And I just feel, sorry, I've gone off on one, haven't I? And I didn't mean to. And it sounds like I'm going off on one at Ethan, and I'm not, I promise. The Dacia Spring, they fitted an anti-roll bar. You can tell the difference between no anti-roll bar, anti-roll bar. Here, it's like, we increased the torsional rigidity of the anti-roll bar by 0.3%. So what?
Yeah.
Anyway,
the blue is lovely, by the way.
The colour in these photos is absolutely stunning. If you really want one and can tell the difference between the colour of gravel you're driving over, then the order books are now open for both the Coupe and Volante version, so you can hear the different colour of the gravel. Prices start from around about £220,000, and deliveries should begin in the first quarter of 2026 because there's no other deliveries queued up in front of them.
Right, I'm going to take us into points of interest, and this week we are bringing you a lunchtime watch. This is from Technology Connections, and he's starting a new series on engine-y things, and the first video in this series is titled Catalytic Converters Are Simple, but Getting Them to Work Is Not. And he goes into, if you've ever seen any of his work before, it's what you would expect, the level of detail to find out what's what and explain it to you.
Yeah, it's like having a really, really good physics or engineering teacher explain stuff to you in words of one syllable, with the occasional very dry bad joke thrown in as well. This is a guy, I think one of his most successful videos is all about how we should actually get our dishwashers to work better. But this is really interesting, the start of this series on car and engine stuff, and he's starting out with the emissions equipment and with the catalytic converters. Well worth 42 minutes to have on the background. I really love his stuff. I always learn something from it.
Yep.
Even if it's just painting Christmas lights or whatever, I always learn something from it. He's got another channel called Technology Con Extras as well. There've been a couple of other automotive things on there too recently. One about LED headlamp bulbs and how they're not necessarily as good as proper headlamp bulbs with a filament.
Oh, right. Okay.
Well, it's all in the wrong place, so the reflectors don't work properly.
Okay,
I knew that anyway, because I'm that kind of nerd. But yeah, really interesting stuff. If there's still the sock advert in there, he's closed the sock offer.
Okay.
Anyway, shall we move swiftly on?
Yes, if you warn ladies and gentlemen to charge their glasses.
There's no need to charge your glasses, everyone. I'm going to be grown up here. List of the week this week is 34 times Japanese marks got it right in this. Obviously, classic and sports car can't bring themselves to admit that some of the Japanese brands might have got stuff right 34 times on their own. So they're just bundling them all together. It's actually a great list. It really is a good list. Andrew, what have you chosen? Where should everyone turn in the handout?
This was astonishingly difficult.
It's very difficult.
But however, I would ask the ladies and gentlemen to go to, in their handout, to number 25, which is slide 26, and the Suzuki Jimny.
Oh, right. Oh, gosh. Yes, that's an LJ10 is really pushing it back.
Yep. But everybody loves a Jimny, don't they? That's the car we hold up when someone says SUVs are bad. And you go, really? This thing?
Really?
This is bad? Don't be silly. But yeah, this is the LG10 is pictured. Looks fabulous.
Yeah, they are cool. We had an SJ.
Yeah.
which of course was a Jimny as well. We had an SJ410. D145 ESL. It has gone to the scrap heap in the sky many, many, many years ago. Yeah, they're very cool. They're fantastic. Last time I drove one, it was in a very remote part of Scotland in the dark, full of other drunk people. And the last thing I remember about it is it had a rag that was in the edge of the petrol tank. So yeah, I was warned not to be very careful if I happened to hit any bumps or holes. So yes, they're very cool though.
Well, how about you then?
I actually went for an off-roader as well. If I scroll back, I think it's about, slide 7. Number 7, slide 8. And you hand out the Isuzu Trooper. Which I've always liked. They're particularly good. They're just a bit forgotten amongst the Pajero Shogun gang, despite the fact that the Trooper was sold under so many different brands as well. Yeah, the Trooper was cool. Everything from, it was one of the first vehicles sold in the UK with direct injection diesel, if I remember rightly. I think that was a 3.1 litre, as well as 3.5 and 3.2 litre V6s. Dual and single overhead cam. Okay, so maybe it shared a chassis and a transmission and everything with a V-Cross. So maybe I ended up knowing far too much in the pursuit of parts. But no, I've always liked the Trooper. I do think it is pretty cool. That's but so many good things to choose.
There are so many cars to pick from here. There's so many good ones that you go, oh yeah, and then, oh, there's that one. Oh, no, there's this one.
Number 34 is particularly awesome, of course, but that would just have been too much. Andrew, do you want to continue the theme into the and finally?
We're sticking with Japan, and there is an article from John Burgess on Haggerty where he talks about, and it's titled, The Subaru SVX 30 Years On. Partly this is to say thank you to John for dealing with all the whataboutisms that he had to...
That's John Burgess, the Subaru SVX owner.
Yes.
Yes.
That having to put up with all the people who were telling him facts and fun details that were not in fact true or correct, and that he managed to make it through just about with his sanity, I think. But this fabulous article talking about a fabulously mad car that I'm so happy Subaru made. It's one of those cars that you go, no one would make that today, unfortunately. But I love the looks, and I love the almost pig-headedness to do it.
Yeah, I love the Giugiaro inside window stuff going on. The swirly carpet mats. They're just. It was always one of the first cars I would try to choose or upgrade to in early versions of Gran Turismo. But that probably says more about me than it does about the Subaru SVX, really. But it's just like more systems. It's from that period, that's a period of the 1990s where the Japanese idea of, right, look, let's get something that's comfortable, that cruises, and let's just throw as many things at it as we can. We want all-wheel drive. We want all-wheel steer. We want dynamic suspension. We want... I don't think the SVX had active aero. But, all of these kind of things just being thrown towards a variable torque distribution. There you go. Just great. And from a wonderful time. And it's super cool.
Absolutely.
Really like them. It's one of those ones for that sort of lottery garage. There would be an SVX would work its way in there. It's a great thing about my lottery garage. It generally contains reasonably priced vehicles. Means I can have lots of them all leaking at the same time.
That's us then.
I think it is. Yes. Don't forget, everyone, that between now and next week, you can give us any feedback and share your thoughts with the show at motoringpodcast.com on Blue Sky, at Motoring Podcast on Instagram and Facebook, and on the contact page of www.motoringpodcast.com, the hub of all our activities. Remember, you can support us financially via Patreon, and please leave a review and rating on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or however your podcast app lets you do such a thing. Andrew, what's the best way to get in touch with you? We're back to semaphore, aren't we?
I think so, yes. But you can search for me on Blue Sky, that I will return to one day. If you search for Crack Windscreen, you'll find me there. And if LinkedIn is your preferred platform of choice, I am on there too. And Alan, if people would like to chat to you more about the cars you didn't pick from the list of the week, what's the best way for them to do that?
I will share all of my Yaris knowledge with you.
Drink
some of it on Blue Sky, where I'm at AJP Bradley, that's BRADLEY, .bsky.social. As I say, each week we'll be back very soon, but until then, I've been Alan Bradley.
I've been Andrew Clues.
And safe motoring.